welcome everybody. Welcome to the Borough Green Tree Council meeting for Monday, December 4th, 2023. Just a couple things before, we always do a moment of silence. It's been a long tradition here. So I was looking up some of the info about moments of silence. It gets it all started to take a lot of action people started doing it around the end of the First World War, like 1918. So it's evolved into many things over the years for a moment of silence. It's to honor military, honor deceased members of our families and communities, but it's also a moment to reflect sometimes. So we're going to do a pledge of allegiance to the moment of silence first. And really, as we begin this meeting, let's pause for a moment of silence to really reflect and meditate or pray or engage in your own other silent activity. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Kim.
Ms. Barron?
Here.
Mr. Lindsay?
Here.
Mr. Panza?
Here.
Mr. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Romanovich?
Present.
Mr. Carosi?
Present.
Mr. Tentori?
Present.
Mayor Shin?
Present. Next up, we'd like to have approval of the minutes from the November 6th meeting, 2023. So moved. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, we have a motion to approve. We need a second.
I'll
Need a
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Next, the November 20th meeting, the November 20th, 2023 meeting. Need a motion to approve.
I'll move.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Oh, I shouldn't have said aye. Anyhow, all in favor? Aye. All opposed and abstain, and I must abstain because I was not available.
I must abstain also.
Okay, thank you. Motion passed. Okay, next up, hearing of the citizens. If there's anybody here who would like to address council on any matter concerning the business, general business or agenda, please step forward right now.
Christine Short, 251 Park Edge. On behalf of Jen Matthews and the Recreation Board, I'd like to thank council for everything this year, from the beginning all the way to the end, which is our finale, is Light Up Night. We had a lot of kids, a lot of folks, big success. Thanks to the council folks that showed up. Also like to thank the fire department for supplying Mr. and Mrs. Claus and taking us over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to new business. First off, finance and general policy. Mr. Troisi.
Thank you. First, I would move that we ratify the the actions of the borough manager in paying the November 2023 invoices from the general fund totaling $48,147.60. Payroll account totaling $208,360.36. Educational Service Agency totaling $5,151.06. And credit card October 23 totaling $3,992.65.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a question regarding the mileage reimbursement expense. Does that show up in this set of bills?
It's on there, yes.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Is that for everybody or what?
Yeah, I think that is on the.
It was submitted in October, so I imagine it was November.
Hold on a second, it's because it's in these two lists. I'm just not sure which is which. It's represented on here, to be honest with you. I will say it is on that.
What's the process for submitting the expense when an employee submits an expense?
They submit it typically to the finance director and then it gets paid.
Do they have to submit it monthly, or do they can submit it whenever they want?
submit it. A lot of times people let a couple accumulate and then submit
So does this one, do we know how many months this one covers?
the whole year, all of 2023.
And it was primarily for mileage to and from picking up supplies?
Yes.
Are the employees required to submit, when they submit an expense, a reason why they're submitting it?
So typically the receipts are representative of that. So obviously if you submit a receipt for supplies for whatever it was you got, then it's pretty clear.
So, but this one, this one in particular is for mileage reimbursement.
Yes,
So what are the receipts? Do they have to document to and from the date of travel? Do we have that information from
well,
this
it's
particular employee?
on the date, time is on the receipt.
For how many trips?
Count the total.
Do we have that information?
Yes,
So it's 1,000, it's just over $1,000 of mileage reimbursement for this employee. It's over 1,500 miles, I believe.
It points.
No, it would be like 500 or less.
500 or less,
it's 0.665 cents per mile,
65 and a half cents a mile.
0.655 per mile.
You're going the other way.
65 cents a mile.
Right.
Just a little over 65 and a half cents.
The expense check is for $1,000,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing math the wrong way.
No,
Yeah,
If it
you're
was 500
Right, right,
miles times
right.
0.655,
You're
it'd be $327.
yes.
right.
Okay, at $1,000 divided by 655, that's 1,526 miles. We had an employee submit an expense report for mileage for 1,526 miles. Do we think that's accurate?
I can tell you that the dates of travel were supported by receipts,
In the form of what?
receipts from stores.
Where are the stores?
Does that get submitted with it?
Yes.
Where are
It
the
all
stores?
has to be submitted as a part of, when we use a credit card to make a purchase, we have to submit the receipt that goes with it. And that happens all the time.
Where are the stores?
I couldn't, I know
I'm
a lot of
assuming you
it's
got-
grocery stores, supply stores,
Is there a purchasing card?
that the finance director provides a credit card that the
Yeah.
employees use, yes.
So the receipts get turned in whenever the purchase gets made.
They have to be, yes, because I know
So
I've forgotten.
when this
before
got
she
turned
asked me.
in, was someone went through all the receipts and matched up all the dates, is what you're saying?
Yeah, she does that before she, like, in other words, it doesn't come on the list of bills. When she gets a credit card statement, every charge has to be supported by a receipt, yes.
No, I understand that. You got the mileage report at the end of the year.
Yes.
Wasn't turned in on the days that, or the months that the purchases were made.
The receipts were not, the mileage report was cross-referenced with the charges on the credit card statements.
So you did true that up.
Yes.
Okay.
Where are the stores? How far? Giant Eagle.
Place, Giant
Okay.
Eagle. all
So the majority of this work takes place about 14 weeks out of the year.
I would say more than that, just because.
Okay, let's
of
call it 20 weeks.
preseason. Okay,
Let's call it 20 weeks. So 1,500 divided by 20 weeks is 75 a week. Times 0.6. I mean, they would have to be traveling to Erie and back every week.
all all I can tell you is that the credit card statements
Every
matched
month.
up with the dates of travel.
Understand, but that's not the issue. The issue is where are they traveling to?
Right.
That's the issue. If they're traveling, if you're telling me that the store that they have to go to is in Erie, then okay, I can understand. But we have a Giant Eagle that's probably less than a mile away. So again, this is, we're not asking the right questions here. I cannot vote to pay somebody over $1,500. 1,500 miles over $1,000. It just doesn't add up.
1,500 miles over 20 weeks,
1,500 miles
over 20 weeks,
divided
Would
by
be
20,
75 a week.
75 a week.
Yeah.
So where are
So
we going?
that's 75 miles is,
75 miles
yeah, it's a way.
it's every week.
But I mean, you know, the number, it depends on the number of trips too, I would imagine. You'd have to really go back and look at the expense report that's turned in if you want to find out
Well,
and do it line by line.
I think the question here that should be asked is what supply stores were we going to? Were they pool supply stores? Were they supply stores like Sam's? Were they Kinko's?
I'm just gonna jump in if I may and just say, if we're really gonna get into the details of this, I think
Right.
that should happen in an executive session.
Well, then-
And that would be a personnel matter.
Why is that a personnel matter? It's an expense.
But you're discussing. Cool. It's an expense. You're discussing an employee
Okay.
incurring an expense.
Then let's adjourn and talk about it and then reconvene.
We're not going to adjourn.
Well,
There's no point in adjourning.
you can't make that call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which we,
Do a motion to adjourn to executive session. See if there's support for that.
support for,
That motion.
okay, I'd like, I make do we have a motion on the table?
I had a thought, I mean, if we could table this and then adjourn towards the end. I mean, we have 14 people here.
Okay,
Or if you would like to approve the bills absent one,
Yes.
you can do that. And then it could be discussed whenever you want to discuss it.
I asked that same question regarding a payroll and, oh, so we couldn't do that.
I think you can specifically say, except for any mileage reimbursements.
Are there
So-
other mileage reimbursements in there?
Yes, there are.
So it would table all of those mileage reimbursements. Okay.
All of them or just one?
I
All
think
of
you
them.
should table all of them.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have to do anything before I make another motion?
We have a motion to approve in a second.
What should I do, Kate?
You can. Who did the original motion?
I
Sorry.
did.
Yes.
You can make a subsidiary motion under the rules of Robert. Subsidiary motions will precede any motion that's on the table.
Okay, I'd like to make a subsidiary. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Subsidiary motion
Thanks, Ron.
to table, to table all mileage expenses, reimbursements in the November bills for discussion in executive session after this meeting.
Second.
Here we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No,
No.
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 Okay. It's, we're back to the original motion. So we have a motion to approve these payments as read, and we have a second. So, all in favor?
But I'd still like to make a comment.
Sure.
We're still in comment?
But before we do, you're allowed to make a comment.
This is shocking to that this council is letting this kind of stuff happen. If we just use your just logical thinking, you're voting yes on a bill, it just doesn't add up. The same way we voted yes on a payroll count, this just does not add up. And I don't know why. Is it because we're getting advice and we're just relying on all advice that comes in and we're just gonna make decisions based on that advice and not use our own logical, rational thought? This doesn't add up. Some things just don't add up. Just because somebody's telling you that you should vote one way or another, I don't think you should do this, and you just go along with it. It's shocking. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. That motion,
You have to spell it on paper.
yes, we are all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Nay,
And, pardon me?
nay,
What?
nay.
Okay, thank you. Didn't hear what you said. Any opposed? I mean, we have opposed, we have, yes, and anybody
I'd like
abstain?
a roll call vote. Because I'd like a roll call vote.
Be happy to do a roll call.
Mr. Troisi,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
No,
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
No,
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Totori.
Yes. So the motion carries.
Okay, next I would move that we approve the payment of the December 2023 invoices from the general fund totaling $89,460.77. Storm sewer totaling $6,160.86. Sanitary sewer maintenance fund totaling $28,652.42. Capital projects totaling $6,540.16. And the bond fund totaling $753.95.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Next, I would move that we reappoint Lennon Smith, engineering, as the borough engineer for the pursuant to the borough manager correspondence dated November 29th, 2023.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
Next, I would move that we pass ordinance number 1,889, adopting the budget for the year 2024 pursuant to section 501 of the Home Rule Charter of the Borough of Green Tree.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Please.
thank you. So as most of you recall, I know a couple of you were absent from the budget hearing meeting. I had addressed, as well as I addressed last year, that the fire department discretionary funds have been cut dramatically. I don't know why. I was never given a real reason for that. They make 0 sense whatsoever. In 1 year, we went from $27,000 to $7,000 from 2022 to 2023. Made it a point last year. It's in last year's minutes. Brought it up again this year. I see to no avail. The numbers weren't changed in our adjusted budget, and I'd like to have some discussion about that and get some answers on why that happened.
So one of the things that we talked about at the budget meeting, if I remember correctly, was the chief was supposed to supply Ms. Miller with information to give her a better idea of what that discretionary fund should be and a better number when you're trying to predict this year's budget, as well as predict what we're going to need to put
Well, let's
away
go-
in that discretionary fund.
Before I get to that, let's
And
go
what I'd like
back.
to know is,
I'd like to know why it was
Ms. Miller,
cut
can I finish,
first.
please? Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Okay, Ms. Miller, did the fire chief provide you with that information?
We did not, I did not receive any additional information to support taking it from the combined for the two different line items was 16,000, 8,000 each. And I would say that I believe, and I don't have that page of the budget in front of me, but I believe that that number came up from the 2023 budget, which was approved last year. And then we brought it up a little bit this year. And, you know, as I like to always remind council that budgets are set, but they are not set in stone. And this council can at any point in time approve payments that may exceed certain line items. And, you know, I think the support for the fire department is there. I don't see, you know, we didn't use, last check, we were not even at the full allocation that was set for 2023, but yet it was raised several $1,000s on each line item, as I recall. So I think most important, at least for me, and I would really think that's the same with the council, is that we're not looking to cut the fire department short on anything. In fact, there is an additional allocation of $100,000 to the fire department for large capital expenses that are likely to come down, you know, in the next 5 to 7 to 8 years. And we want to make sure that we build up those reserves so that we're not going hat in hand to the taxpayers 7, 8 years from now and saying we need a $900,000. So, you know, I don't think there's any indication to indicate that there's lack of support for the fire department in any way.
That's not what's in question. And technically, there is a lack of support if you're cutting our budget.
It was
So
not cut from last year.
it was not, last year was cut from 2022 by $20,000. Okay,
And if I recall, that money was moved into the fire
Correct.
apparatus fund, so it was not cut,
So-
it was moved.
no, it wasn't moved. It was cut. When I made us think about it, you agreed to pay $36,000 of the upcoming purchase of the self-contained breathing apparatus we had to pay for. That's why it was moved. And I asked you to put it back in because we're setting a precedent that can't set, okay? We're not running a fire company on $7,000, okay? We're not running a fire company on $16,000. I don't know where you think the money comes from when the borough doesn't provide it. I'd like to know this answer. Is there a magic thing? Because we run our fire company on donations. So we're going to put a letter out this year that says, you folks have to donate $20,000 more because the borough won't give it to us. Is that what you want? Is that where we're at? Who's standing behind this besides Jim?
What's that?
Who's standing behind this besides Jim?
Standing behind what?
This cut?
I'm not standing behind a cut. My point was, the chief was to provide.
The chief has never provided that in 50 years. Okay?
Well, if you don't want to let me finish saying what I have to say, I won't say.
You said it once already, Jim.
Well, what's your point?
What's your point?
My point is.
You're, wait.
If the fire company wants money in the discretionary fund, they should ask for it. That's all. And nobody's saying that.
We haven't asked for it for 20 years. It's always in there until last year it got cut. And I still haven't gotten the answer why.
And it was asked, what a reasonable sum to put in the discretionary fund?
Did you ask any other department what they needed? Besides, why is the fire company who has saved this community millions and millions and millions being held to a standard that none of the other departments are? Go ahead.
Because we're planning for next year's budget. and we wanna
Then
know-
bring everybody in here and have them justify their budget.
Well,
The library does
if you're not gonna
justify
let me
their
finish.
budget, and Miss Miller comes to a
They need
library
to
board,
justify their budget.
I
Most
hope
of
everybody
And they
it's
do.
payroll.
and they justify all of the other expenses, and they invite Judy to a meeting every year.
The
to
fire
discuss their
company, Shannon,
budget.
in all due
I'm just
respect,
saying. You said that no
cannot-
one does that, and they do.
we're not clairvoyant. We don't know what's gonna break. Okay.
Right, of course, yeah.
If something breaks at the library, it just gets fixed. Okay, it doesn't fall under scrutiny, right? That's my point. These are discretionary funds, right? Over the last 22 years, prior to last year, the fire companies only used 60% of the money that was budgeted.
Right.
Well, we're well below 60% at this point. So the people that are fiscally responsible, that don't use the money unless it has to be used, their budget's getting cut. That has nothing to do with what the library budget does. Everything about their stuff is well
I
above
only
board.
mentioned that because you said no one else has to justify their budgets. So I was proving to you that that is absolutely not true, okay?
Well, we've never been
Second-
asked for a budget unless we know a big expense is coming, which we did last year.
Correct, yeah.
I told everybody about it and we took care of it.
Yeah.
Okay. The fire company paid $35,000 of that.
Mhm.
How are we doing that with 16? If something like that happens this year?
But I will say that last year when you asked for more because you had this specific expense, there was no question.
I shouldn't have had to ask for more. You cut it without giving a reason.
It was brought up from last year.
I'm talking about
Between the two.
2022 to 2023, you dropped to $20,000.
But it
From
was.
every year from
money-
2000, I'm sorry, from 2007 to 2022, the equipment budget was no less than $20,000. That's 15 years.
but
In
when-
one fell swoop, it became 4.
If you have that budget, I apologize, I don't have that page of the budget.
Not my problem.
with me, But my point is, I think it was
Not to
reduced
Judy.
because it was not used.
That's my point. So here we go. If you pull the minutes from last year's budget hearing, I'm asking why being fiscally responsible cuts a budget. We're not coming over here and begging every time we need something, okay? You put it in the budget. Did the police chief, acting police chief, put in writing what $27,000 worth of training looks like? Who's going, what classes and everything? Did that happen?
All I'm saying, Reno, is we base.
You're not saying anything.
The budget is based on what we need to get through the year.
And I'm telling you what we need, and you're ignoring it.
But in 2022, only $3,700 was used. And it's projected that maybe
Look how fiscally responsible the fire
Okay,
company is.
okay, we don't need anything like this, okay? We're just gonna be serious, okay, for 1 minute. Everything in this budget can be moved. I'm sure they can reallocate things anytime they want. So
Absolutely.
it's not like you're getting cut forever. I don't know the reasons and circumstances
it's-
behind it, but I can tell you
It's 2 years in
that
a
if you
row.
ever ask for anything, you could easily have it moved back in, because that's what everybody.
From where?
From any other, what is it?
That's mine.
But why wasn't it moved? Because we talked about that.
I don't know I'm just saying as a resolution to this, that's all.
Yeah,
Unless you want to hold the whole budget
I
about
didn't,
this.
I didn't wait till tonight to bring this up. I talked about it last year and I talked about it 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So if it wasn't changed, that means someone doesn't agree.
But I will say last year's budget was approved with that lesser amount in it because the money was put in the fire apparatus fund.
Right, which means we spent $36,000. As a matter of fact, we've spent over 40 this year.
But that purchase, as I understand, is a capital purchase that is not an operational expense. I would, if more money is to go for these large capital expenditures, then it should go in the fire apparatus fund, not in the operational fund. I think operational is stuff that every year it's the same reoccurring expenses. It's fine if the council does not want for it to be perceived that we're reducing the fire department budget, I would recommend then that we already placed $100,000 in there. That it seems to me that money should go to capital, not to operational. Now, if you're saying the operational is more than what the fire department can manage, then certainly that's fine. But I do say, with all due respect, Reno, I believe that is why we asked for the fire chief to bring in and say, look, no, we're paying for things that we shouldn't be paying for. Would you consider making it 10,000 here, 10,000 there, 15 here and 15 there, because these are the things we're paying for out of our money that we would like for the borough to pay for. That's all that was asked for.
What we shouldn't be paying for is an expense check that was.
That's enough. Thank you, that's enough. We're not here to play games here.
No,
I'm
listen,
trying to
the
resolve
idea,
the
the
matter.
idea is you put the money in and it gets used if it needs to be used. If it doesn't need to be used, it goes back into the general fund the next year. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars of overages every year, and I can't even believe that this is an argument. This is something that's been in the budget for 25 years. And poof, it's gone.
But that's not
And
the
now I
point.
gotta come
You
over.
understand, it's not the
No,
point.
it is the point,
Can
Jim.
I finish?
No,
Okay, so
you keep making the same
are
point.
you the king of council that you can tell me I can't?
Are you gonna
speak?
say something different?
What I'm saying is that just like you're saying, the fire company can't be clairvoyant, neither can this council, neither can the borough manager. If the fire company needs a certain amount of money in their discretionary fund, they should come to the borough manager and or the finance committee and or the budget meeting that was held on November 20th with an idea in mind about what they think would be a reasonable amount of money to put in the discretionary fund. Because otherwise, we have no clue either, do we?
What do you- What do you think I was doing?
If I may say,
You weren't
I
doing.
would just,
You're just saying what you think wasn't done to try to put someone in a bad light.
No,
I brought it up 2 weeks ago to change it.
Yeah.
Okay, it could have been an oversight, it could have been anything, but the effort was not made. I brought it up last year and I'm bringing it up again.
And it's a two-way discussion, and
It's-
information was asked for and it was never provided.
No one else provides information that, okay?
Well,
We've never
That's-
provided information that. It's a budgeted discretionary fund. It either
maybe
gets
you should.
used or it doesn't. Stuff breaks, we buy it. It doesn't break, we don't. We're not coming over here and begging every time we need to purchase something to get
Well-
approved by council. I want it in the budget, like it's always been. And no one has still told me why it was cut. Because no one else's was cut. We spent, what is it, 30-some thousand dollars on civil service attorney's fees on an $8,000 budget this year.
but
Did we drop it back to 8,000? No, we didn't. 35,000 went back in. Now, I know why we spent that money, and unless we're gonna be rewriting the civil service rules and regs again, we're not gonna be spending that kind of money in attorney's fees, but that went right back in. We've never spent anywhere near that kind of money in any year. $14,000, $14,245 is the most we ever spent in 22 years in civil service attorney's fees. In 1 year, we did $37,000, and now we're budgeting the
so the
anomaly.
most you ever spent was $14,000, right?
Who? No, that's civil
In the
service.
discretionary fund. Or what was the
No,
most you
that's
ever spent? What
civil
was the most you
service.
ever spent in the discretionary fund?
This year, 36 grand.
So is that what you think is a reasonable figure?
No, I asked for 35, which is the same number we were budgeted in 2011. Now, our revenues have been flat for 20 years. Again, I don't know if you guys don't understand this. What we asked the residents for donations, okay? It's been flat.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do support the fire company regardless of what you may. believe.
Appreciate it.
But
No, I
do make a
I
donation.
said support this legislation, this budget. I didn't say anything about not supporting the fire company. Don't twist my words. So do you think expenses in 20 years have been flat? Do you think the cost of stuff's been flat? But that's what we're doing here. We're going backwards. 2011 is the number I'm asking for. 13 years ago. And I got half of that for the volunteers.
So it was brought up at the budget hearing.
Mhm.
What happened after that?
Nothing,
Did anybody go back to the fire company and say, you need something?
not to my knowledge.
we asked at that meeting, the chief was present, to bring to us these expenses that were that we were told were being paid for out of fire department money that could be and should be paid for out of the borough money.
So to Mr. Lindsay's point, why are we holding the fire company to a different standard, asking them to justify the budget amount?
So in 2022, the amount was not used that was budgeted, and it was less than what is budgeted for this year.
Are there any other departments where they didn't use their full budgeted amount and then we dropped it and then asked them to justify an increase?
I'm sure there is. Do I go through every line item? Our finance director typically walks through that individually. And yes, sometimes if year after year, a budget is set at 10, set at 10, set at 10, not being used, yeah, cut it. Because if it's not being used, then it's not representative of what is needed. If after year after year after year, you're not using it, it does make sense. It doesn't make sense to continue to provide a number that's not using because you have an inflated expense budget. If the history shows that you're not using, your expenses don't rise to that level, then why continue to budget at that level? That's bad
Bless
budgeting.
you.
You're not
but we
budgeting
have,
at that
but
point.
we have a couple $100,000 surplus every year.
Please understand, I am not arguing that we should not give the fire department more money, but at the budget hearing, we requested additional information. I didn't get it, so I didn't change it.
I can't make that up, Judy.
You can't make what up?
The number, we don't know
I
what we
don't believe it was your
All I'm
duty or
saying is, I
position
just,
to
we
provide
asked
that.
for
Was
some
that-
information. If there are
I would
things,
have provided it if I had it.
if there's things being paid for by the fire department that can be paid for through and should be paid for through these line items, that's the only information that we asked for. You know, I didn't get it, so it didn't change. But again, with that said, the budget is a guideline. If this
So-
council feels that an expense is worthy of payment,
Correct.
aside from the fact that it's gonna take that line item from 8,000 to 16,000,
If you had received it, would you have changed it?
yes, I would have made the recommendation. If they provided information to support that, you know, we could have made that adjustment, but I didn't receive anything that warranted a change.
Did you reach back out to the fire company?
I asked the finance director if she had received anything, and she said she did not. Sure can.
Sure, you're allowed.
I shouldn't speak to that.
Holiday season, I don't mind. I've been away. Huh. In 1 week, you asked me to come up with this. How am I gonna do that being away?
If you had just.
Last year, I
simply-
was not asked to do this, which we could have done this last year, where he was bringing up. I was never asked that last year to come up with your discretionary, let me see what your funding is. I was never asked that. I was asked this year a week. That's it.
And if. and if
I
the
didn't bring up,
time-
he's asking for it to go up. Where
To
it
what?
was, where it was, that's what he's asking about. Has nothing to do with showing this, what, like he said, what, everything's decreased over the years, why did it get cut? That's all he's asking.
And I guess maybe I'm just confused that it didn't get challenged last year.
What?
They did
A challenge,
What are you
nobody asked
talking
me to
about?
Last year, the
produce
budget
anything.
got
Last
approved,
year,
and
it
it
was.
was.
All right,
We did get
I'll
approved.
slow down. Listen to me.
But that's
We
all.
didn't
I was away
challenge
for
the
a week.
number.
Hold up, one conversation at a time. Is that it, chief? Yes, but you can't give me 1 week when I'm away. Did you call back and say, give me another week or two? No, Okay, well, you're gonna vote on it now. What am I gonna do? I just
Okay.
came back Sunday. She knew it. I mean, they all know, Mom.
Absolutely not. All I'll say is, if that's ever a situation, all you have to do is say, I simply do not have time to get this material together.
said it that
Can we
night.
consider?
I was like, I'm gonna be on vacation. That's all I said. Said it that night. Okay, thanks.
Last year, Judy, I think you put 3,000 and 4,000, total of 7,000 in there. I brought it up, but you guys agreed to move money temporarily into the fire apparatus fund safely. $36,000 that was going to be spent, which is the entire amount that we should have had in our whole budget. Right? So I figure at that point, anything that comes in, we're going to have to spend above and beyond that because the borough's covering $36,000 this year, which is basically what we normally ask for. Okay, so that's why no one said anything. Now with the other 7,000 that's in there, I'm sure half of that or 3/4 of that was spent as well, so it's up over 40 grand. The fire company in 2023 through October has spent $121,451. So is that an anomaly? Yeah. But I don't know where you guys think that money comes from when it doesn't come from the community.
I don't think anybody's saying that it should come from council or through the.
So I don't want to push the envelope. We're fiscally responsible over there, as I've proven. And we paid that above and beyond what the borough paid. So that none of those dollars count what the borough's share was. That's what the fire company put out this year. Yes, there was some grant money in there. But so it wasn't all out of our pocket, but we've spent quite a bit of money this year. And it comes from our reserves. And once the reserves are gone, the budget's going to be a lot more than 35 grand. So this is a simple switch. I don't even know why we've argued about this for 20 or 30 minutes. You know, we're pulling it from one part of the budget and putting it into another one. Would have been a lot easier if it happened before tonight, but again, we've never been asked to justify something that we can't justify. What happens when you ask me to justify or ask the fire company to justify $36,000 in spending, they will make stuff up because you're now being forced to come up with that number. And so instead of being fiscally responsible and only paying and buying what we need, we're going to write a budget for 36 grand and we're going to spend it all. That's why you have a budget. It's a discretionary fund. We've actually saved this community money in those funds alone, despite all the other stuff. And now we're being put under a microscope and a spotlight to say, hey, you need to justify everything that's in the budget, which you've never been asked for before. So you guys figure it out, but we're not running a fire company on $16,000.
Anybody else? Any other comments before we move on to the vote? Right now, what we're doing is voting on ordinance 1889, which will be adopting the budget for year 2024.
Can we make a change? Is it too late to make a change? If council,
They can reopen the budget
Allocate
anytime.
money anytime you want during the year, anytime. Doesn't need to have a vote or a motion.
And
The
I will
council-
tell you, we have overspent many line items from time to time because of need.
There's no need
Yeah,
to make
just
a
need.
motion. It's what
if
happens.
council agrees
No, that's what we.
that the fire company should have the 30, what is it, 30, Mr. Lindsay, what is it?
I'm sorry.
What do you propose, 35,000?
Yeah, it was like 10 in supplies and 25 in equipment. Right now, it's 8 and 8.
So if council right now agreed and voted yes, that they believe that the fire company should receive 35,000, what could we do?
Well, they can provide the documentation. Then,
Documentation, he just.
No, that's not what
established
he's, go ahead, sorry.
sorry.
This is more for Kate. If council were to approve additional budget for the fire company tonight, how could that happen? Could that happen?
I'm not sure. I can tell you procedurally, you could amend the original motion, or you could make it a motion to adopt with the change that, you know, the line items. And that are increased. I just don't know that that gets you a balanced budget,
So
right?
could we make
it's-
a motion to authorize borough manager to budget the fire company 35,000?
But I think at this point, you have a balanced budget that's been published, so I want to make sure that your budget at the end of the day is still balanced.
Yeah, it has to come from somewhere, Kate.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
you need a
It
name
still has
where
to balance.
it has to name where it comes from. So if
Correct.
that's,
This can be,
those changes can be made before it's adopted. If you want, you can also look at this budget again in January. even.
absolutely.
And so
yeah.
it can be consensus to reallocate funds after, so that you can move forward with the budget as is, so we don't, or,
I
so
think-
we're not asking Judy to rebalance it this evening.
Right.
And that could be a general consensus of council, and it doesn't have to be a motion or an official action. It just can be a byproduct of this discussion. If people are in favor of that.
Right, so people would have to be in favor, obviously.
Right, yes. But I
That-
think that might be a little bit cleaner than trying to rebalance the budget right now.
And
Well,
I
no,
think make it
you can't do that,
understood, the goal here is not to cut short. I think all we were asking for is to show us what, like, is 36 enough? I don't know that. I don't know because I don't have anything to show what was paid for by fire department funds that should and could be paid for with general fund money. That's all I'm looking for.
Right.
There went a couple years that it was underspent and it was just adjusted. And again, if it's for capital expenses, I want to see that in the fire apparatus fund. I don't
But
want it
is
to appear as though operating, just day-to-day operating is that
Thanks,
expensive.
thanks, Jay.
Those containers that they bought last year that we spent $36,000 on, those are like once, I think, in every
15.
15
Yeah.
years, right? So that's a capital expense. I'm just trying to keep the budget clean, to accurately reflect what it costs us to operate every year. What it costs us every 5 years for this or every 15 years for that. That's all we're trying to do here. And if operationally, day in and day out, week in, month out, we have to have these expenditures, then it's important to identify what that is, just so that the taxpayers out here know what they're paying for. That's all. It's not to begrudge anybody anything. It's just to have an understanding of what we're paying for. That's all. That's it.
Shannon wants to say something.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to recap kind of how we got here. So I remember when I first came on council, it's 2 years ago. So we'd be looking at the 2022, but it would have been, didn't vote on the 2022 budget. But that was, I remember those initial conversations, and Miss Miller was talking about how she walked us through at that budget meeting back in, that would have been 2021, walked us through the budget and said there were changes to how things were laid out because she was trying to build a budget that was just what she just said. So that it was more, that it became very clear that what was capital versus what was operational. So it was not that anyone, and again, I didn't vote on the 2022 budget. From what I saw, it was that it was moved over because it was very clear that X amount of money was going to be used for, that needed to be done for capital improvements versus operational. And that what we have seen through the last few years was that operational, the expenses were down. It wasn't that overall the expenses needed to be cut in any sense of the imagination. It just needed to be moved into a different budget. And I, for one, absolutely am in favor of giving our volunteer fire department whatever they need to keep our neighborhood safe. If we do need to put more into the daily operational, I can't speak for everyone here, but I can't imagine there's anyone here that would say no to that. But nothing in the last, again, since that change in how the budget was presented, it wasn't yes, I understand that for 20 years it was always in there, but that's because the budget wasn't set up the same way. There was a shift in 2022 of how the budget was laid out. It was not a decrease in funds overall. It was just a movement. Am I correct in that understanding?
There was many, like, for instance, the road program is in
Correct.
operational general fund.
Exactly.
Not where it belongs.
And is not where it belongs. Correct. Okay. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I would have gladly, or the fire chief would have gladly provided some documentation if we had any idea what we were gonna spend money on in 2024. And I can't stress that anymore. If you guys want a made up document, we'll make up a document. The problem is I'm the precedent's being set here, and I don't want it to go in the wrong direction. I don't want to have somebody from the fire company standing at the podium every year wondering why this number is the way it is. And if you're going to force them to spend $35,000 when they normally don't spend $35,000, that's a detriment to our tax base.
100%. I don't think
So,
anyone's disagreeing.
I don't
with you on that.
understand why you just don't, it's a budgeted line item. If needed, used. If not needed, not used. Everybody wins. It also caps the fire company from spending more than that. Okay. They have a capital expense, like we had mentioned with the breathing apparatus. That's, once in a 15-year thing. We brought that up last year. And so we were able to do that. Okay. But that doesn't we don't have those opportunities in advance during budget season.
Mhm.
You're forcing them to buy things that they don't normally need when they don't need them to justify this budgeted line item. I'm telling you, it's worked this way for 25 years and it's saved this community a lot of money. If you go the other direction, that there will never not be a dollar spent in that fund. I'm telling you right now. So you guys decide what you want to do. We'll have the fire chief come up with a document and we'll put money in there from somewhere else and we'll move on. It's a big mistake.
You said you were the fire company was dipping into the reserve fund.
Absolutely.
You know how much?
I just told you, we spent $121,000 this year. How much do you think we get donations from the residents?
Not that much.
Not that much.
How much you get on the gun bash?
Well, I don't want to start disclosing numbers, but we don't use that. That's for a special fund that we don't use to run operations. It's to reward our firemen for coming to calls, activities. It's specifically targeted for that.
Oh, okay.
So we don't use that. Any funds from the Sportsman's Bash are used to run any day-to-day operations whatsoever. Or
That
buy
is
anything.
complete news to me, so thank you.
Thanks for that. Anything else? Like to move on to a vote on ordinance 1889, which is adopting the budget for the year 2024. We have a motion, I believe, and we
I
have.
still want to go back to considering a path to giving the fire company the $35,000 that they're requesting.
We already said we're gonna have a path, that we would adopt it, we would adopt this budget and look at it, and we can really once we get information better or whatever, we can reallocate. We said that like 5 or 6 times. We would just reallocate the money from the general fund or whatever. That's what everyone does. I guess that's all I can understand.
It sounds like the fire company is asking for a budgeted line item, not just reallocating funds when they need it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to reallocate that from somewhere else outside the fire company budget. Is that what we're talking about?
I would say we have more than sufficient reserve funds that could manage a request for additional funds. All I was saying is that
But that changes the budget, Judy,
if,
doesn't it?
Rena, we spend,
balanced.
there are
It's balanced,
line
yeah.
It's
items,
just allocated.
there are line items within the budget that get overspent. It happens all the time. We do it because there is no way you can, with 100% accuracy, budget a year's worth of expenses. I do not see approving this budget in any way as restricting the approval of purchase requests by the fire department. Again, I don't think there's absolutely no attempt whatsoever to punish the fire department because they didn't spend the money that was allocated to them previously. We're just trying to budget.
But that's what you said.
Accurately.
That's why you did it.
That's not.
Absolutely not, absolutely not.
You said because they didn't spend what was budgeted, you lowered the budget amount.
Which is a very basic budgeting practice.
Yeah.
If a line item within a budget continues to be underspent, you reduce it.
So why did we
I agree.
increase?
I agree with her 100%.
Yeah. Why did we increase the Civil Service Commission budget?
Because we have a lot of things going on this year. We are going to be hiring, we're going to be promoting. There's a lot going on this year. I think we're probably going to be just as busy this year as we are next year. It was up last year, so we kept it up this year in light of the fact that we have to hire 3 police officers and a chief of police, which may or may not involve that Civil Service Labor Council. So, again, I just stress so much that the budget is a guide. And I think that every member of this council, at least what I've heard so far, is extremely supportive of the fire department. If the fire department is spending down reserves, for instance, when Shannon and I had a conversation with the librarian, she told us straight up, we are spending down our reserves. We are getting to where we are operating in the red. I have not heard that from the fire department. So if that is the case, then certainly that's a conversation we need to have. But again, I don't think voting no on this ordinance or trying to revise the budget here tonight is going to affect whether or not this council will approve necessary purchases from the fire department. And I mean, that's a matter of this record, and I think that the council could, you know, make your own statements to make it a matter of record, but I think we can move forward with this ordinance. And then I can work with the fire chief to say, like, what types of things are you spending that are operationally causing you to draw to your reserves? I mean, I think that's just what we want to know, an understanding of how potentially we might be falling short on support. And if that's the case, that's all we need to know. I just need to know. And that, again, is part of the routine budget. Whenever anybody asks for more money, for what, how, why, that happens with each member of staff. So
I want to be clear. First of all, I agree with you, Ms. Miller. That's how budgeting is done. And I understand why you adjusted those line items. But when I brought it to your attention last year, I told you it was a mistake, and that's why we're here where we are. In theory, I agree with you, though. And I just want to be clear. If we go into reserves and things, I'm not saying that we're not meeting our day-to-day or operational needs. It's a choice sometimes to go in and make those purchases. Sometimes it's not a choice. So it's just, you know what I mean? It's not like we're running in the red without knowing we're running in the red. Okay.
Yeah.
We've always used the borough's budgeted number as our cap. And if we want something or need something that comes up, if we've spent that cap, then we would make the choice to purchase it on our own. And I just want to be clear about that. It's not like we're running on fumes or anything.
Yeah, I
You know what I mean?
understand.
So I just wanted to be clear about that. And as far as tonight, I wasn't expecting us to pull a line item to say, okay, we're going to take it from here and put that we weren't going to pass the budget. I know two council folks were not at the budget meeting, and I wanted to have this discussion, and I wanted to get some type of agreement that we were going to look into this. But my concern is, you know, if we don't change the budgeted line items, we're going to be having the same conversation, except I'll be at the podium next year. And I did not want to set that precedent, because once we put it there, it should stay there. And then we don't have to have this discussion. If we don't use the money, we don't use the money. We're not going to just break stuff to meet that dollar amount. That's all I'm saying. So I don't think anybody did it maliciously. It was a budgeted line item, just like all the other line items. I'm not blaming the borough manager. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying I pointed it out as a mistake and something that I believe needs to be changed. And that's what I'm here talking about.
Then let's change it. So I make a subsidiary motion to authorize the borough manager to allocate $35,000 to the fire company. And
I would hold it to this, that I would move forward with passing this budget.
well, right, we can still pass the budget.
Hold on. She's requiring information. The fire company is gonna produce that information. Okay? Between now and the next meeting, you guys can always open up the budget in January and redo it. There's no need to not move forward with this now. I just wanted to have this discussion, and I wanted support for that dollar amount. So,
But we don't know, you don't know if you have the support.
well, then I'll scream from over there.
Well, we don't know what the amount is officially. If you give it back, then we'll be able to
So
calmly.
the
just
borough
change.
manager is gonna need time to get the
That's all.
information and make a recommendation to council for the next meeting.
Correct.
I'm prepared to move forward with the budget as is, now that we've had this discussion. And I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right now, trying to get a vote on ordinance number 1889, adopting the budget for the year of 2024. I believe
It was
we have a motion and a second. So I would like a roll call vote. Ken.
Mr. Torrance,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsey,
yes.
Mr. Panza.
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Satori.
Yes. The ordinance passes.
Next, I would move that we pass ordinance number 1,890, fixed real estate tax rate for the fiscal year 2024, providing discount and penalties as authorized by law. And I would note that ordinance keeps the tax rate the same, so there is not going to be any increase in the taxes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just want to point out the millage is 4.61. That's what we're passing, I believe, 4.61. That means $461 on 100,000. So if your house is assessed at $100,000, you're paying $461. If it's assessed at $200,000, do the arithmetic real quick, would be $922. So that's the millage rate that, as Mr. Tarasi said, is staying the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we have a motion and a second. I would like a roll call vote for ordinance number 1890.
Mr. Drozi,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. The ordinance passes.
Next, I would move that we pass ordinance number 1,800 and, I'm sorry, there's a discrepancy in here. The
Oh, it
ordinance
says,
is 1891, and then in the,
it is 1891.
it is 18, okay. I would move that we pass ordinance number 1,891, amending the ordinance 1,860 by setting the Borough of Green Tree sanitary sewer user fee surcharge at $6.50 per 1,000 gallons of water used effectively January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. As a matter of note, this is a slight increase in the sanitary sewer user fee charge. I believe it's gone from $6 to $6.50 now. And this is due primarily, or due to increases passing through us from Alcoasand.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion?
Only thing, if I've read it correctly, an average customer uses 12,000 gallons of water a month.
What?
12,000, yeah, gallons of water.
Okay.
Maybe
Your
that's,
house.
yeah, 12,000.
Okay.
Anyhow, so that's about $6 more a month. So if it goes from $6 to $6.50 per 1,000 gallons, it's 50 cents more per 1,000, and then you times it times 12. So it's about $6 more a month is what is going to be sold. I did the arithmetic correctly, which I think I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any further discussion? Okay, I would like to take a roll call vote on ordinance number 1891.
Mr. Drozi,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes, the ordinance is passed.
Okay, before I get to the next item on the agenda, I would move that the resolution 1,337 be removed from tonight's agenda. The resolution is to establish a procedure for scheduling executive sessions of Borough Council. The reason I'm asking or moving to have that removed from tonight's meeting is that although I agree that substantively such a resolution is properly brought through finance and general policy, this resolution has never been to the Finance and General Policy Committee to review and make a recommendation to council. Therefore, I would move that we table this until we have the opportunity to discuss it in committee and make a recommendation for language to all of council.
So what's our proper, I brought this up in our November meeting, the, what I call the committee of normal things, it seems like. So who makes the decision that these things fall under the committee? If I brought it up, why isn't it under my committee?
Because you're planning and zoning, you should only be dealing with matters.
Okay, so if
involved
it's something
planning and
that's
zoning.
important to me, they could just sit on, if I'm not on, the finance committee, the committee of all things, then it might never come up to council.
You haven't brought it up to the finance committee or the general policy committee.
I'm not on the general policy.
Well, you can bring it up and
I brought it
ask
up at the
us
last
to,
council meeting.
you could,
So
Think you,
could
Go
have
ahead.
provided the ordinance to us
Ms. Miller was
to look
supposed
at
to,
in committee.
Ms. Miller, at the last meeting, she said that I sent her my draft, and she said that she was gonna get it back to me, and I never got it until I got the, agenda packet last week.
I did not know you were looking to get it in advance.
You told me that you were. You told me that you were gonna work with me on it at the last
I
meeting.
apologize, then I misunderstood. You sent me very specific language and then I forwarded it to the solicitor so she could put it in resolution
And
form.
then I was kept out of the loop after that.
My apologies.
Well, nobody's
no one was in
saying
the
we're not
loop.
gonna consider it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't think it's appropriate
So
to,
you'll bring it
Bring
up
it
to the
forth
next
in the-
finance committee?
yeah, I can put it up in the
Okay.
Finance and General Policy Committee for consideration. We'll look at it. We'll discuss the language. We'll come up with a recommendation to put forward to all of council at that time. And given that we're in December's meeting, it would be my recommendation that we table this until after the reorganization meeting, so we know exactly who's on the Finance and General Policy Committee at that time. And, you know, as far as I know, there's no guarantee, so you could be chair, anybody could be chair, but I don't feel it's appropriate at this time.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Motion on the table to promotion to table resolution 1337. Can I have a roll call? Oh, wait a minute. We have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call? vote?
Mr. Troisi,
Yes.
Ms. Barrett,
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay.
Yeah.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
No,
Mr. Romanovich,
Yes.
Mr. Totori.
Yes. The motion to table passes. Thank you, Mr. Tarosi. We'll move on to the mayor's report.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple things here, actually a bunch of things. The Christmas card contest, the police conducted that at the light up night. Every year they have Aiken School and Guardian Angel Academy. The students submit proposed covers for Christmas cards. Then they select one, the best one that they believe, and then they make cards and send out those cards. The police department send the cards out. And this year, Ally Penasino from Aiken School, a fourth grader, won. She won a $100 gift certificate. She got 25 Christmas cards to send out. So I thank the police department, in particular Ryan Bocci, for conducting that. In regard to, we need some new police officers, Civil Service Commission, we got 14 applicants, but then they have to take a physical agility test, and they also have to pass a written exam. Of those 14 applicants, 8 showed up for the physical agility test, 7 passed. The 7 applicants that passed that same night, they took the test, a written exam. Dom Costa, we hired him to administer the exam. So we're waiting on the results, who passed that exam. So we are moving along in the hiring process in regard to the police. We still need to get a police chief. There's a bunch of moving parts on that. So hopefully we're going to do that early next year on the new police chief. In regard to police report, we get a police report each month. So Green Tree is a relatively safe place, but if you read the police report, we always have domestic disputes. I think there were 3 or 4 last month at different places. We always have a mental health situation or 2, and we always have several DUIs. So those incidents could always turn bad, you know, domestics, mental health, and DUIs. So our police have been handling them very professionally, and so we appreciate that. We've had a number of thefts from unlocked vehicles on Green Lawn Drive. So all the vehicles were unlocked. Somebody had their keys in their car too, an extra set of keys, and one of the cars was stolen on Green Lawn Drive. It was recovered, so people should keep their cars locked. In regard to the budget, I didn't make the comments then, but there's 4 big things coming up: the sanitary sewer, storm sewer, Trumbull Street Bridge, and the swimming pool. The sanitary sewer, we're well on our way, but that's government mandated. That costs lots of money, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Storm sewer also, that's government mandated. We're going to be spending over $1 million on storm sewer updates. Trumbull Street Bridge, that's going to cost millions of dollars. And the swimming pool, we have to decide what we're going to do. So fortunately, we do have some grants. It's in the budget. Judy, along with her engineer, LSSE, we've gotten $2.3 million toward these 4 areas, 2.3, and we have over $3 million. Miss Miller, and the LSSE has over $3 million pending. So those are big budget items coming up. A couple more things here. During the last month, I've attended the comprehensive plan public meeting. Thank the Planning Commission. I'm sure Mr. Ray will say more, but the Planning Commission spent a lot of work. They have 88 pages, the proposed comprehensive plan. They've not submitted to us yet. I've read all 88 pages. I've made both grammatical changes and some suggested substantive changes. So I don't know which ones they're going to make or not make. But in any event, we thank the Planning Commission for all their hard work and continued work on that comprehensive plan. I also attended the budget meeting of council. I was at Light Up Night, and the Civil Service Commission had a meeting on November 9th of 2023. At that meeting, the comprehensive plan, there was there were a lot of interesting facts came up, but someone from PennDOT was there. And what I didn't realize, if they redo those interchanges come 2026, 2027, they're talking about tearing down the bridge on Green Tree Road. They said it's not high enough. It doesn't meet standards. They want to make it higher. So that would be a good improvement, but also a big inconvenience for who knows how long. But anyhow, he did bring up that potential tearing down the bridge right on Green Tree Road. The other thing that came up after the comprehensive plan was Jersey Mike's. That's 7-Eleven. They're well on their way to getting the necessary approval to put Jersey Mike's in there. And one thing that was brought up, they will have no entrance or exits onto Green Tree Road. It's going to be on the side street there. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. A couple more things here. There's been a lot of, I don't want to say, a lot of discussion on some things. And I hate to bring up one more item that's potentially some people will view as negative, but I must do it to be true to myself, to be true to the position of mayor, and to be true to the residents of Green Tree. There was a recent meeting, and the council president indicated that all the council members could speak, but the mayor could not voice his opinion because I could not vote. That's against state law. That's against everything we stand for here. The mayor, even though I don't vote, I can express my opinion. So shame on me if I didn't bring that to attention. And I do want to put on the record, I'll give you a copy, Kim, the email I wrote to council in regard to this. I think this is a very important issue. And here's what I said. As the Jim Croce song goes, don't tug on the mayor's cape, or is it the Superman's cape? Don't spit in the wind. You tugged on my cape once too often by attempting on November 6th to prohibit me from voicing my opinion on a matter being discussed. You did so by stating that I should not be able to voice my opinion because I did not have a vote on the issue being discussed. As I explained below, this attempt by you emphasized your lack of knowledge of or intentional indifference to the power of a council president, the role of a mayor, the statutory rights of a mayor, free speech issues, and the importance at all levels of government to permit and listen to opposing points of view. Your attempt further illustrates your lack of respect for both the position of mayor and for a person who has served as a council person for 8 years and as mayor for 10 years. Paragraph, an applicable Pennsylvania state statute provides the mayor may attend any and all regular and special meetings of council and take part in the discussion of the council on matters pertaining to borough affairs, subject to any restrictions applicable to members of council contained in the rules of order or the bylaws of council. There's no restriction in the state statute prohibiting a mayor from taking part in the discussion regarding a matter on which he or she will not be voting, I'm sorry. It is my understanding that there have been lawsuits filed by mayors against elected officials when they have attempted to exclude mayors from attending meetings or to prevent mayors from speaking and giving their opinions at meetings. If a council president could prohibit a mayor from speaking on the basis that he or she would not be voting on an issue, this would block over 50% of a mayor's opinions. This would be an absurd result and would be completely contrary to how local government should operate. I would have anticipated that you knew this from your long-standing association with the local government academy. Then paragraph, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in Linder versus Mullen stated, there is no more important local public official than a mayor. He exercises the entire executive power of the borough or municipality and works closely with the city council on a wide range of social and economic policy issues. As in the past, I intend to continue to work closely with Borough Council despite any attempts to prevent me from doing so. Then paragraph, Mr. President, in order to move forward and pass this matter, I request that you respond by acknowledging your misstep and assuring me that you would not in the future attempt to prohibit me from asserting my opinions. Thank you. So you could tell I was a little perturbed. But in any event, I never heard from the president. He completely ignored my email of November 12th, 2023. This could have simply been avoided by Mr. President saying I stepped in doo-doo. Kim probably not used to doo-doo, D-O-O-D-O-O is how you spell that. In any event, this is the same kind of behavior when Mr. President stepped in doo-doo in regard to the fire department. And then it took 3 meetings of people coming and voicing their concerns that's the statement made. And after getting disinvited to the sportsman banquet, then we got an apology. But anyhow, I feel strongly about free speech. I feel strongly about being able to voice my opinion. I feel strongly, you can tell. If you can't tell, shame on you. I feel strongly about trying to be prohibited. But I was able to give my opinion in that meeting because the solicitor, I turned to her and Ms. Dearson said I could speak. But thank you. And I do have some strong opinions come January. I will have the gavel when we elect a new president. And I have strong opinions about who should or should not be president going forward. And I thank you and I apologize for the negativism. I like to be calm, collective, and cool, but sometimes you just got to stand up for what you think. When you think you're going to get bullied or disrespected, you got to stand up for your rights. Thank you. End of my report.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on to reports from the committees and we'll move on to finance and general policy. Mr. Truist.
I really have nothing new to report. I would just like to remind everybody that we do have a reorganization meeting coming up on January 2nd, I believe at 8 o'clock, January 2nd, 2024. So we'll be swearing in our couple of our re-elected council members as well as one new council person. And we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Infrastructure, Mr. Romanovich.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really don't have much more to add that the mayor did not already share. Except that I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I hope you enjoy the season. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Move on to planning and zoning, Mr. Ray.
Yeah, so, I believe Cheryl Bacon is in the hospital. True, yeah, so, prayers and thoughts for Cheryl. She's instrumental in leading the planning commission as the mayor explained on November 15th. The comprehensive plan meeting was held. There was strong attendance. There was great feedback. PennDOT, as Mayor indicated, was present, and he volunteered his time to go through the plan and provide feedback, editing feedback. So we appreciate that. Couple of questions. The October meeting, we passed a motion to request the borough manager to put together a proposal on best practices for communities that have working sessions. Working on that. Yeah. And then are we gonna have an update? Are we gonna have an update on the peer review tonight? Just where that stands.
Still with the committees. So you did a report, I think the last we met with the administrative peer review. So I think that's something we could probably undertake in January. Collectively, the council wants to decide to take some of the recommendations that were in there. I know some of the things from the administrative side I've already implemented just because they were logical, not high level changes. So
Okay. I believe what we had decided on is that we were going to do a synopsis of each of the reports. I submitted mine on the public safety. I don't know if the others have been submitted yet or not. At least I haven't seen it.
We have an admin one that Judy and I reviewed, but I have not sent it to everyone yet.
Okay.
No.
And what about Public Works? I forget who it was.
Craig's the chairman.
Right, I'm gonna process the time that one up myself. I will have it out before the end of the year.
Cool. There was some discussion in past meetings about communicating with the community, and there was some feedback about the absence of the emails, the weekly email. I know we have a new messaging app, and I believe in one of the updates we were told that the app can push out emails, but I don't recall receiving any email updates yet.
well, once the app is launched,
Yes, I'm not.
Oh, it's not launched yet.
Yeah, it's coming.
it's, it's like 90 to 100% done. We can already see it on our phones. But we're kind of walking through it just to make sure we kind of get the bugs out. I hate to launch it and then the residents have issues with it. So we're trying to make sure it's completely clean. So there will be, if you want me to explain it,
Unless you're going to talk about it in your report.
I was,
Okay.
but I can do it now.
Okay, sure.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it'll be a new Green Tree specific branded mobile app. We're going to call it Green Tree Connects. And you can download the app to your phone. So it'll just be a button on your phone, no different than any other app. You can opt in for notifications or not. And that means anything that you're interested in, it'll pop up with a little, you have something in your inbox, and then it'll say notification from Green Tree. If you are not interested in having an app on your phone, you can go to the website and you can sign up for like a user account, and you put in your email, and then you can sign up for the alerts that you want to receive. So for instance, Kevin may not be interested in knowing news about the summer recreation program because his children are beyond that, right? So he wouldn't sign up for those. He may only want to hear about, council meetings. Give me alerts on that. Give me alerts on road closings, water hazards, any emergency notifications. So you can pick and choose everything that you get. It's not just this broad, like for instance, when we did just recently code red notifications for the comp plan, I got a couple complaints. People were upset that I sent 3 code reds out on that. So they could have immediately opted out of that. So it's it's really, I think it's gonna be convenient and you're gonna get only the news and information that you want.
So you could, just to clarify, you could opt out of Code Red, but then you wouldn't get any more.
Code Red will go away. Code Red will be replaced by this app.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great. Thanks for that update.
Is that- Does that call the homes
Yes.
as well as,
Oh, does the
Yourself.
app call the homes? I think it can send text messages and.
well, how do you
emails.
get rid of Code Red if it's not dialing homes?
We don't have to get rid of Code Red. We can keep it.
We-
It's just an added layer.
we
We
need-
don't, I can tell you that other than the comprehensive plan, I don't think we used it at all in 2022.
Thank God.
I'm just telling you, yeah, we didn't receive it, and it's, unfortunately, it's very outdated. We get a lot of calls saying, please take me off that, I don't live there anymore. That's the problem with that system, is there's no, like, the people aren't in control of it. Do you know, like, they can't,
Like,
they're
I
not-
can't go in and say,
They're
no.
not, yeah, they don't
Right.
know, a lot of people, they got in it, they have no idea how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, so they want to opt out.
Yeah, you're like auto enrolled in it and then you can't
But I
get
thought we
yourself out of
controlled
that.
here.
We send out the messages, and I don't control the database, I don't control who's.
Yeah,
Well, it seems like that would be good if it's an emergency.
an
situation,
emergency.
Right?
We can
So-
keep it, but I can tell you,
Well-
since I've been here, I used it, I think, once the first year, not at all the second year, and this year was really mostly for the road program, because it was pretty comprehensive and it was delayed and rescheduled and pushed back multiple times. We used it for that. You know, and even then, I don't think I'd ever use it for that again, because as Kim can attest to the fact that the road program was a moving target this year. We put it in and then an hour, a couple hours later, it would change. So that's what's really great about this mobile app. I do realize there are some of our residents that may not have a cell phone, but
You can get emails through it
you
still.
can get
Yeah.
emails, but I would find it hard to believe you don't have a cell phone, but you do have internet and a computer. That seems.
We have a link on our website about signing up for that.
Oh, we will, yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the Code Red still.
We do, yes.
So there's a link to that.
We'll pull it, yeah.
Because I'm kind of curious if my cell's on it, if not just my
I
cell
have
phone.
never gotten a code red notification in all of my years of living in Green Tree. So I'm not enrolled in that program. No.
But if we don't have something that's calling home, we
Right.
should replace it with something else. I mean,
Agreed,
if you want to get
yes.
rid of it, let's replace it with something else.
Yeah, something that can call homes for
I just
sure,
think- I'm
especially in
sure we have Plenty of
emergency.
residents that don't have cell phones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but
Yeah, absolutely a reality.
thank you.
Yeah, just a couple more things here. Ms. Barron, Mr. Panza and I met last week to discuss a plan for putting together a procedure for collecting employee feedback. This is something that we talked about back in the October meeting. So the outcome of that meeting was to put together a statement of work, which I'm drafting now and will submit back to Ms. Barron and Mr. Panza. We have 2 applicants for a zoning hearing board vacancy. We're going to be interviewing them soon. And then we have a committee meeting after tonight's public meeting. That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ray. Public facilities and equipment, Ms. Barron.
Yeah, I did want to wish everyone a happy holiday and safe season. I hope that everyone can continue to be healthy and stay warm and cozy with their loved ones, whether near and far. I personally wanted to say I was really sad to miss this year's light up night. I think I've attended every light up night since 2011. And that was before I was married, before I had kids, and before I even lived in Green Tree. So it was really sad to miss one. But unfortunately, we had a very unexpected family issue that I needed to attend to this weekend. But I heard nothing but good things from my neighbors. Everyone was very excited. The kids were still excited about all of the holiday festivities this week at the bus stop. I did want to say on behalf of the library board, a thank you to all of our community members, all of everyone here on council who either visited the library this year, who checked out books, who participated in the hundreds of programs that the library offered, from adults and kids crafting events to language classes, family events, local history. There's been a lot. And so on behalf of all of the board, I just want to thank everyone for that. And then additionally, we will have a public property committee meeting later this month to kind of basically get our ducks in a row for 2024. We will be talking a little bit about our pool renovations, and then we'll have more information for everyone here on council for both council input and community input in the new year. So look for updates there. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, public safety. Mr. Lindsay.
I think I've said enough, but I thought of one thing. So I've been working with Ms. Miller on updating the fire or the false alarms ordinance that we have in the borough that hasn't been updated since, what did we figure, 95, I think? Ms. Miller was the last time it was changed or something. And so we needed to dramatically increase those because we've got a bunch of nuisance properties that are dragging volunteers out into the middle of the night for no reason. And putting apparatus on the road that doesn't need to be put on the road, creating additional liabilities that we don't need. So that was going to be prepared for tonight, but we're getting the, still working on the rest of the fines and fee schedule, and so it'll be part of that. The committee was involved in the discussion. And so it's somewhere around doubling. We're trying to reduce the number of, right now we give out 4 free alarms a year. And so we're trying to reduce those and increase the fines. And so that should be on the agenda for next month, if I remember correctly from talking to Ms. Miller. So, yeah.
Do the fines go to the revenue received go to the fire department?
It does not.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Recreation programming, Mr. Panza.
Thank you. I would first like to start by saying thank you to the Recreation Committee for putting on a fantastic light up night. Officially, it was verified that was light up night number 32. I was told over 500 hot dogs were given out, and it was very, very well attended. You guys just did a great job, and I would like to thank you personally for putting that on. Next, I would like to mention upcoming, we have a holiday lighting, house lighting contest. It has 4 different categories. Some of the categories are Be Merry, Griswolds, and we also concentrate on the front door decorations. You know, that's one of the many categories. Next, we also have upcoming the snowman competition. Now, as the years go by, it's becoming more and more challenging to even build a snowman since we do have the lack of snow. I will tell you, it does not have to be original Green Tree snow. You know, you can import your snow if necessary to fulfill the building of the snowman competition. And then finally, I just wanted to point out to the mayor, even though it should be under recreation, but according to the charter, it's the mayor's committee. Mayor, you do realize you currently have 3 vacancies on the Shade Tree Commission, and you have not fulfilled them. And I was just hoping that maybe you could do that for 2024.
I will look into that.
Okay, it's Article 14, Chapter 1 of the charter.
Speaking of trees, any update on the nature center? I know that we were having it looked at in terms of.
I need to secure a forester or an arborist working through DCNR on that. That'll be a 2024 project. We did remove several trees though that were problematic after a review by DCNR.
No, that's a problem. At this time, that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. As far as the president's report, basically, I also want to acknowledge everybody who made Light Up Night a success. I had a number of people to thank. I read a statement during there to thank people, but I just want to make sure Public Works Department really gets a special shout out for their efforts for meticulously decorating the borough grounds and the thousands of lights. Also, want to give a thank you to the Green Tree Garden Club for beautifully decorating the interior of the borough building. It certainly makes the holidays a lot brighter and festive for the whole community. And lastly, I wanted to thank our own Green Tree's own Paul Linko. He does an amazing job on that train display. It was set up in the Poplar Room. Takes a week to set up and another week to dismantle it. And it's enjoyed by hundreds of residents, and he only wants it up for that one night. So I think they've tried to convince him that it would be nice to keep it up for a few days, but certainly respect his opinion, but can't thank him enough. He's been doing it for a long time. Secondly, I was able to, the local government academy is having, which I'm still on the board, is having their newly elected officials class. They've started it. The first session was on Saturday over at the Doubletree. I was fortunate enough to be an instructor, and our new council person, Emily Schwartz, is in attendance, and she is in that class. So hopefully be able to learn a lot of all the important information that you would need to have as a new councilman. So glad you're continuing to do that. And okay, as far as the mayor's statement, let me just say I've known Ed for a million years. In my life, I have never tried to not tell him he wasn't able to do this or he wasn't able to do that. When you're the president, sometimes you have to make a decision, you have to say something in a meeting. We had an executive meeting, and it was only there to vote on a certain issue, and I'm not going to get into details. And I innocuously said, I only want people who vote to give 2 minutes to be able to say what they say before we vote. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. It was not, and no malice was intended in any way at all. It was simply a matter of, I only wanted to hear people who, and it was well within the guidelines. I overstepping my boundaries. And when we said, you said you wanted to say something, I said, well, I just want to have people vote 2 minutes and then you can vote. And then looked at Kate and we said, okay, you can talk. So there's not a problem. We let you go. There was no maliciousness. If I would have hated to have you speak, I would have probably fought and said, no way you're talking. But that was not the case. It was, I'm sorry you got upset about that. I don't know what else I've ever done to keep you from talking. We've never had that issue in this council. You can say anything you want. It was an executive meeting deciding on a vote. And that's where I have to protect my council and the people that vote for council. So I'm sorry you feel that way. I sincerely apologize if you got upset about that. I hope that's something, if you have any questions in the future, we've known each other 40 years. You can pick up the phone and call me rather than send a message out, a letter. I was on vacation for 2 weeks, didn't even see the letter. Could have picked up the phone and called me, but I don't want any animosity. There's nothing against the mayor. He's a good guy. Haven't done anything. You know, we're not trying to stop him from talking. We did not stop him from talking. There are lanes he'd be in when you have to vote and you don't have to vote. But other than that, I'm sorry if you were offended. It wasn't the intention of that, and it has never been, and it will not be. So that is all I have to say.
And I accept the apology, and if I went overboard, I apologize there, but I was anticipating I would get a response to my November 12th email before today, and that would have avoided everything here.
Correct.
Maybe write a phone call would have too, but a response to the email. I accept the apology and we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We, as much as we talk a lot lately, the last year or two, there's nothing wrong with that. We're just trying to get everybody's opinions in. You know, everyone has an opinion. Everyone gets riled up about what they have to say. That's okay. You're allowed to say it as long as we don't drag us on all night so you people can go home. But we're here to help the borough. That's all we're here to do. And that's all. And as Reno would tell me, keep it short. Quit talking about all this stuff. So I would just close by saying, we all wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And thank you, Kate, for all the work you put into this year. Thank all you guys on council. We'll be short. We'll be having Reno retire, which we'll sincerely miss. Been on council with you for a long time. So we'll just adjust. Things change in the new year. And wish you all a happy and healthy holiday. Thank you very much. Just
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got
turn.
so carried away that I forgot about this person called the manager.
How about saying
You guys saved me one thing.
I was doing you a favor, but
The
go
one
ahead.
thing and the most,
let her talk, Art.
and the most important thing.
There you go.
Like, I
wasn't gonna let-
cannot believe nobody mentioned it. Santa Claus is coming to town on December 17th from 12 to 4. So make sure you have your kids out front waiting for Santa to give them your last minute present requests.
Sometimes
That's
Santa's
it.
wife even gives the dogs a treat.
Yeah.
That's
They
it, that's
do.
it. That's all I got.
Now you're up.
Okay,
Okay, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Make a motion,
Second.
we adjourn this meeting.
Join. Thank you all very much.
Last year, when Santa came
Oh, yeah.
around, they